Hello, every nation, Southern Africa. Whew, what a great year we have ahead of us. It is a season where God is answering by fire. The fire of the living God is coming into our churches, coming into our lives to separate that which is of the world and that which is of His kingdom. The fire of God is standing as a wall of His presence to bring blessing to the church and to challenge the world toward righteousness. He's again dealing with the idols of the world and making them unable to give to the world what it needs, and at the same time pouring out the blessings of God into His church. 1 Kings 17 and 18 is a portion of scripture that I feel like is so relevant for us today. God woke me up one morning speaking through this and reminding me of how when Elijah went and set up the altar. Remember, he was challenging the prophets of Baal and saying, the God who answers by fire, that is the God. And he had them set up an altar and get it all right. And then they had to call on Baal. And if he answered by fire, he was God. And he set it up his altar. And remember, he poured so much water on it. He made it almost impossible for it to happen by accident. Well, not almost impossible, absolutely impossible for it to happen by accident. And we know how the story was, that the prophets of Baal cried out for hours, cut themselves, just made a great scene and were not able to move Baal because Baal didn't exist and there was nothing to answer them. And yet God in an instant came and consumed the sacrifice. Elijah's sacrifice consumed the entire altar. But there's some things that God began to speak to me that I think are so important for us in this season. First of all, that there was a requirement on Israel to pour out water on the altar. You must remember that Elijah had decreed a drought at that time. So the most precious commodity in that time was water. They had no water. Obadiah was going around looking for places to feed Israel's flocks. There was no water, and yet God said, bring the water and pour it out as part of your worship to me. And I feel like God is just saying for us at the moment that part of the fire that is coming is meant to inspire us to bring all of our resources into the kingdom, to lavishly give. I want to stop there for a moment, and I actually meant to start with this, so I hope you've gotten this far in the video, but God has called us so specifically to a church planting strategy. By 2040, we are going to plant 40 churches and 20 campus ministries, 20 churches outside of Joburg, not outside of Joburg, outside of South Africa, and 20 churches inside of South Africa. It's a momentous task. It's an impossible task. It's almost like an altar set up with water poured over it. Impossible to do. And yes, God answers by fire. We're never going to get it done, but He is going to answer by fire. That's the point. He's going to come. And as we bring lavishly, generously, our time, our talents, our treasures, all of us, our people, as we work towards this end and we have this enormous faith that He's going to do it, there is going to be a demonstration of His power to fulfill what we are desiring, what He is desiring, what He has put in our hearts, and we are desiring with Him for. The other thing that is so important when I look at this scripture is that Elijah, when he set up that altar, he used 12 stones to represent the 12 tribes of Israel. Basically, he was looking back to the covenant that God had originally made with Abraham and that had brought Israel and the 12 tribes of Israel into. And so clearly God said to me that if we rely on our own abilities, if we rely on what's worked in the past, and if we rely on just our skill as ministers, we'll get very little. But if we rely on the covenant, if we rely on the fact that God has already decreed through Jesus Christ to His people success, nations discipled, if we rely on the fact that God is that good, that He has actually gone before us to do the work, if we fall fully in trust and in faith on God and step out and do things that are not humanly possible because we know that there is a God who answers by fire. Then we will see a victory so beyond our own abilities. I hear him calling us to bigness of thinking. I hear him calling us to bigness of heart, generosity, just a passion for him, just completely all in. Specifically, the words that he woke me up with in the morning were, I'm all in, will you be all in? God is all into our vision. He's all into the great commission he's given to the church at large and us specifically to get these things done, to see churches planted, to see disciples made, to see the glory of Jesus Christ reside over the earth. And he has committed himself so fully. When we look at the covenant that those stones represent, the old covenant, the new covenant he had with us is so much more powerful, so much better, so much more enormous, so much more sure. And in that covenant, he revealed himself as all in. Every part of him. He held nothing back. There's not some secret that he's still about to reveal to us. All of his power is available to us. All of his grace is available to us. All of his life is available to us. All of his wisdom is available to us. And the call for this season is, will you be fully committed? Will you be all in? Will you bring all of who you are to the altar? And will you trust God to answer by fire? Will you trust him to come and pour out power, wisdom, ability in such a way that the blessings of God flow into our people, that they see the power of God in our midst, and their response is, yes, we will serve God with our whole hearts. Will we believe God to bring the fire of his presence into our communities, into the places outside of the church where people don't know him? And we see a delineation between the world and the kingdom, and we are able to call people into the glory of his kingdom. I believe that God has more victory for you this year than you've ever imagined, and I hear the Spirit of the living God whispering to your heart, give me everything, as I have placed everything through Jesus Christ at your disposal. I'm asking for all of you. And hand in hand, we will walk into the world and we will have enormous Elijah experiences where the power of the living God comes to consume the sacrifice of our lives and reveal to the world that their idols are useless, that they are not able to accomplish anything of value outside of Christ. And our hope is that they will come running into the kingdom to see the glory of God. 40 churches, 20 campus ministries. God's doing it. Let's do it with him. God bless you.